Welcome back to Next Step. Today with us, we have a great guest, somebody that can attest to basically being somewhat trapped in a normal life, and he's looking for more. He's pretty entrepreneurial, I'd say. You can attest to some of your business experiences later in the podcast, but basically just trying to figure out a way into doing something different. So today we have with us Hunter Morsching, and if you just want to give us a little intro, background on yourself, and then we can rip from there.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that intro. A lot of times I feel like I undersell myself, but anyway, I have started a few side gigs and whatnot. I'm 23 years old, currently, I guess, unemployed as of this week until next Monday.
Wow.
So other than that, I'm in the construction industry. I went to school for construction management. I'm from Waterville, which is pretty close to Mankato here. Definitely a homebody, pretty reserved person. So I guess I'm interested to see what kind of content we'll pull out of this conversation.
I mean, you should probably tell the people why you're unemployed, because you're not really unemployed. You're just kind of in between jobs.
So an interesting statistic, this year in 2020, I will have worked for 4 different employers in professional roles, which on a resume should make employers run away. But I just keep having job offers rolled my way. So I've just been jumping around and landing back where I started out of college with another construction organization. And I'm looking forward to it. Ultimately, it's what fit me best. I've been in construction for a couple of years. Honestly, I hate construction. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and that doesn't fit my personal values and ethics very well. And that's why I had a candid conversation with my owner last week whenever I put in my 2-week notice on Friday, and he let me out the door on Friday as well, just because I didn't bring any value after that conversation. Yep. And I'm getting pretty good at giving my 2-week notice. If anybody was curious. It's definitely one of the hardest conversations to have, but I feel pretty fortunate that it's worked out in my favor, I guess, and I've left on good terms with all my previous employers. I'd like to think anyway, other than I've left them hanging. And I guess a lot of people would be jealous to be in my shoes, but I don't exactly feel good about having all these job offers and different jobs, so that's kind of the other side to this coin.
I mean, you should speak a little bit on why you chose to leave the other jobs and what the new job is bringing to the table that makes you want to have that job. Because it's not exactly the job. It's kind of like the flexibility and then being able to have the flexibility to do other things to make yourself happy. And if you can, pull the mic up to your face a little bit. It's echoing. You got to talk right into it.
Gotcha.
Much better. We're good.
We might have to cut that.
You're good.
But as far as leaving the other past jobs, has just been that 7 to 5, 7 to 6 grind, 10-hour days, 5 days a week, some of them being Saturdays, which 60 hours a week on a big salary isn't that great, just with the amount of hours you're working and you don't have a life outside of it. So with my next employer, there's a flexible schedule. I'll be working from home. And just overall benefits towards starting, I guess, flexibility is the biggest thing, and workplace culture is a huge thing to me as far as just the flexibility in working from home. Currently, the past organizations I've worked at, they're uncomfortable with working from home. They just don't trust their people that they're going to work if they're remote.
Which says something about the culture of the workplace.
Exactly, which isn't probably a place where I'm going to thrive and grow. And then I know recently I was just talking to my owner, and he said, where do I see myself in 20 to 30 years? And whenever I look at him and tell him exactly where you're sitting, and it just didn't get any feedback from him or like, oh yeah, for sure, ownership or anything. I want to be able to move up, and my next opportunity offers that, and they're structured just for growth, I guess. And that's for a younger person and a younger professional. We want to have that opportunity to grow and keep advancing. And where I was at, I felt kind of trapped in the day-to-day.
So you should tell the people about some of the businesses you've started, go a little bit more into depth on those, and then maybe speak to what made you choose to take the job over the keeping the businesses going, because that's a struggle that a lot of people have, even myself. And it's just kind of like the trade-off between stable money or unstable money. But what led you to make the decision to maybe exit those a little bit early, and then where do you see yourself in the future with enterprise and maybe starting something again? Because I know you said you don't see yourself in construction the rest of your life.
Exactly, and I think this is a great question, Logan. I go all the way back to probably 4 or 5 years old. My parents started a little business for myself and my two brothers, and we would wrap wood, split wood. We'd sell, I think, 4,000 to 5,000 bundles of firewood every year.
Moly.
And they put my name on the business for tax reasons. So in 23 years, I've owned or ran 3 businesses of my own. And obviously that was for tax reasons with being a younger person.
For sure. Smart parents.
Yeah.
Right?
So that also, I think we'll get into later in this podcast, is kind of upbringing and being put in the right seat, or just how your upbringing can shape the outcome of your life.
Definitely.
But anyway, I would, summer days, weekends, winters, I would literally be back behind the house working on firewood, and my parents put all that money into a mutual fund as a college fund or down payment on a house, and I have never tapped that yet.
Oh.
So
Nice.
that goes back to the power of compound interest, and just seeing what that does over 15 years, doubled once so far probably.
That's nuts.
There's a lot of power to that. So my parents definitely put me off to a good start by doing that. But anyway, that was just a little side gig, kind of. I don't know how to explain it, but it sucked doing that.
It sucks when you're young, but I mean, I wish I would have taken my parents' advice even more than I did, because I mean, I had nothing to that level, but
yeah,
I mean, it's crazy because I never knew that story about you.
Yeah,
I've never even heard that.
That's where all this started. That's where everything about me being so money orientated started. Literally, I bet I worked 15 hours a week every week of the summer, spring, fall, and then through school, after school, I would get off school at 3:30 and we would go wrap firewood or whatever, and I was like, I hate this.
What age did you say that you started doing that?
I was probably 4 or 5, and my brother was
That's
7
awesome.
years older than me, so he was 11 or 12, and obviously my parents helped, and I don't think they ever took a dime. They gave it all to us.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how many 4 or 5-year-olds do you think do that nowadays?
None, and I think that's
Definitely
what
nowadays
has instilled my work ethic. And I mean, I'll outwork anyone that's right next to me. Just work circles around them, because that's all I've ever done, and I'm really good at it. So
Yeah.
that took me all the way to high school. I did that, which I would have been 16 or 15 whenever we quit doing it, just because I was in sports at that point and trying to manage time, and I wanted to have an outside life.
Have a life.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to downscale that, and I played football and just was involved with high school. So that's kind of how I managed my time. We actually just got out of it just because we were all moving on to different things in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to my freshman year of school in Brookings, South Dakota, and I dropped 18 grand on school and transferred back to Mankato, where I'm from here. Decided to live at home because I'm like, I spent 18 grand on school.
Did you learn anything?
I learned a lot, actually,
that's
which
good.
we'll get into. I have a different stance on education than you guys might think.
That's
So-
okay. We need both
Yep.
sides.
Yep.
So we'll get into that next. But I was 18 grand in debt off the bat after my freshman year, and I was forecasting out for 4 years. And it was looking to be about 80 grand to get a 4-year degree. And I was like, that's going to take a long time to pay off. This debt's going to be overwhelming. So I decided to transfer back to Mankato, did everything on my own. I did all the orientation, all the paperwork. It was pretty seamless, honestly. It was overwhelming because really no one helps you
No
or
one
tells
teaches
you,
you how to do that.
tells you what buttons to push.
Mm-mm.
And that was high anxiety moment. So I just didn't even know if I was going to Mankato in the fall, but I just showed up and I was good to go.
funny.
So anybody out there that's nervous about, making a change, I guess just dive in head first and ask questions. I had to call the admissions office, and
I think that's a thing that people just don't do. They won't pick up the phone and call somebody, because a lot of situations can just be solved by calling somebody. Like
Absolutely.
any technology issues I run into,
I just throw it.
like a lot of people just get overwhelmed and stop. But like you just got to pick up the phone. Somebody wants to help. You just got to get to the right person. And it might be tough and it's annoying that you can't get there right away.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you still think that you're way behind in life,
exactly,
you're gonna have a tough time.
Yeah. So that was really, I guess, just taking the initiative, picking up the phone, calling, asking those questions. Anyways, back to my other second side gig or whatever, side business, whatever you want to call it, because I knew I wasn't going to do it full time. So I thought that maybe we'll circle back on that later. Started a little lawn mowing business. I bought a 60-inch Toro lawnmower and a weed whack. And I just started a business. I had family friends that I let them know about it, advertised in the local newspaper, and I got a hit off of that. So that was a weird marketing. I didn't even use Facebook or no other type of marketing, just other than word of mouth. And I ended up getting a few accounts, a couple commercial accounts, and in that one summer, I paid off all my debts to that business, and then I had those accounts, and it was like babysitting. I hated it once again. But it taught me a lot and kind of showed me where I want to go, what I want to do. And the next sophomore year of school, I made a goal back in Mankato to get an internship, which was kind of unprecedented as a sophomore. But anyway, I did. And I got an internship to work in Upper Florida on a solar project, which was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
But I had to figure out, was I going to do lawn mowing year 2, or how was I going to do that with being in Florida? Because it was a sole proprietorship that I was running myself. And I decided to liquidate and sell everything out. So anyway, that gave me, I think I was out of debt after my first year of school with starting that lawn mowing business. And then I'm like, how am I going to do something again that I can be around for spring and fall, specifically, that I'm in school? And my brother and his buddies would take out docks and lifts in the spring and fall. They had like 5 clients, and they would just get together on a Saturday and drink some beer and make a little bit of cash, and I guess just have fun doing it. And I was like, this is an awesome idea. There's a need for this, and people that live on the lake have money. And I guess just knowing what pockets to dip in is kind of one of my unique marketing strategies, I guess, is just knowing what pockets to dip in to get their money. So started that. I expanded that within 12 months up to 45 clients, and then we got up to 50 clients, and now we're back down to about 35 clients. We're still doing it to this day. Tons of repeat customers, people that want us to do it because it's sucky work. But now that I'm out of college, even though still doing that side gig. So that's one where it's flexible and I'm able to manage it with my current jobs. But I've also had tons of opportunities to travel with my degree, and I've stayed close to home just for some of those side businesses, personal reasons holding me back, and personal values,
What's
I guess.
your degree?
Construction management.
Oh, okay.
And I have a minor in business administration, and I guess we can hop right into education, and we can circle back if anything else comes up.
I mean, yeah, I have a ton of questions off the first point, so maybe just wait on education a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could speak to, you're still doing the docs today, correct?
I am.
And you're still making money from that, even if it's just a little bit of money in the grand scheme of things. Maybe you could speak to how, even though you have a full-time job that pays well, you still want to add to that and add another stream of revenue, because everything adds up. And I think a lot of people think like even an extra $20 here and there won't add up. But like, I think that's why I'm so decent with my money. You're probably so decent with your money, and so she is, because you understand the value of like everything adds up. So you need to make sure you're adding, even if it's little streams of income. If you're adding a couple streams of income that produce $2,000 a year, you add 3 of those, you're $6,000 extra a year. That's a whole year of rent. You know what I mean? So I think maybe you should talk on that and like why you still do it, even though you obviously have plenty of money to live comfortably.
Yep. So that's a very good point. And the reason I've always believed to maximize my earnings and income, besides instead of living off of less, I have an Excel sheet. I keep track of every dollar that comes in and dollar that goes out. We were talking about increasing my income instead of.
Okay.
So anyway, increasing my income instead of living off less and deciding what I wanted. I'm just like, well, I can just increase my income and then I can decide what I want to spend it on.
Yep.
So I've got an Excel spreadsheet. Every dollar that comes in, I keep track of, and every dollar that goes out, I keep track of. And investing is on the top of all those. I invest before I spend on anything else. And whenever you do 10% of your income towards your 401k, and then another almost 10% into your Roth IRA annually, that's almost 16, 18 grand off the top a year. So it's like, how am I going to manage to invest and still be able to live comfortably and have everything else that I like and want to do? So, for example, the doc business helps in, I guess, fill up my Roth, helps fill that up.
Little bits can come from everywhere to help. Like,
exactly.
And that's the way I look at it too. Like anything you can even do for $100. Like for example, like you work at the bar and you bartend on the weekends. I don't go to the bar, but instead, like during homecoming, I'll pick people up and shit, make like $300 cash a night, and people are like, "That's so stupid. Why don't you just go to the bar? Like you have money, you shouldn't be worrying about that." But like $300 is my groceries for a week, and
it's knowing the right pockets to dip in.
Exactly.
Same with bartending.
Exactly. But like I'm just trying to give another example of like even as little as $300 can help, and like it all adds up, and that's what people just don't comprehend. I feel like,
especially as cash is king, because that's just $300 straight towards your Roth. That is untaxed whenever you take out that compound growth in 40 years. So if people could realize the power of that, and I think that goes back to our education system and instilling that at a younger age. I've seen the power of compounding from my first business that I was part of, and I guess that's why I've made it such a point to invest all that extra money and keep these side gigs going, even though I've got stable income and a good job, but fulfilling, making sure all my investments are filled up first. And that's, everyone else looks at it the other way. They want everything first, and then they'll fill up the investments last, which there won't be anything left for those.
And then there won't be anything left when they're older and they need the money.
Yeah.
And now that we're talking side gigs, there are so many opportunities out there, from even Uber, Lyft, like DoorDash, Instacart,
delivering groceries.
Like right now, especially
selling
is the time,
jewelry,
right?
Yeah, I mean, you should honestly talk about like what you do as well. Honestly.
Yeah, I would like to hear about,
because I don't think you've given that whole story.
No, I haven't
heard that.
I started it at the beginning of this year, we'll say, and it started out as just wanting. I saw a girl on Instagram who was making like beaded necklaces and bracelets and earrings, and I was like, I want to try that. So I bought a bunch of like jewelry bead making stuff, and I ended up telling my grandma about it. And my grandma is an insane garage sailor. Like every single day, she will go out and garage sale. So she mainly does it for gold and silver. So she'll buy like buckets of jewelry and pick through it and pick all the gold and silver out. And so she had a bunch left over. And she was like, why don't you come and look through all of my like leftover jewelry, that kind of stuff. Maybe you can take some, like take parts from it. So that's how that snowballed and turned into what it is today. So now I take jewelry from her, I go out and I garage sale, I go to thrift stores, I have people like contacting me, asking if they can send like their grandma's old jewelry to me. So I will like deconstruct it, take pieces, make new stuff, sometimes just clean it up, and sell it as is. And I still make like handmade stuff too.
That's crazy. I think the biggest thing is just thinking outside the box. I've provided services for people, which requires a ton of my time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of balancing how you want to spend your time, but that's a very unique.
And it does take up a lot of time, from like going and shopping for it, cleaning it up, making it, and then it's like when people order things, I have to print off the shipping labels and get it all packaged up, looking pretty, write handwritten notes and that kind of stuff. So it is, but I definitely think that there is potential to expand with it.
Yeah, well, and that's a interesting point, because I know I've got this week off before I start my new job next Monday, and I am so extremely squirrely after working 50 hours a week. I just get bored, and it's like, if I invested that same time instead of working for someone else into something of my own, the amount of I guess there's so much that people could get out of that if they were just willing to work. So I think that's interesting after you work full time and then you get time off and it's like, wow, I'm doing that for someone else, but I'm not willing to do it for myself. I mean, I don't know. And then I'm also kind of trapped by the grind. Like I got up at 5:30 this morning to go hunting, archery hunting. It's a huge passion of mine. And typical Monday morning, gray, I would sleep in. I'd be like, God, I don't want to go work construction today. Who's going to be mad at me today? But whenever I'm not reporting to someone, I feel free, and it's insane. I'm rejuvenated this evening. I didn't sit behind a computer with people yelling at me all day long, and it's crazy. It almost makes me think, and I won't be working for people my whole life because I mean, like today is a good example of that.
Yeah.
It was Monday. I didn't dread 1 second of it.
Yep. Yeah. So I think like that's something I'm struggling with right now. As I graduate here in like 5 days, and she talks shit to me because I'm like you, like I have to make money at all times, and I don't know what my idea is. Like I have some businesses, like I do make money on my own as my own boss, but also like I want to maximize my time. So that's why you have a job, because you can't, without an idea, you don't know where to put your time. And that's where I really struggle, because I could put in 80-hour weeks for myself easily if I had the idea that was like something I'm really passionate about.
But I look at it like the 2 weeks that you had off of work because I had the thing. You started a podcast.
Yep. We'll get into why we did this.
We tried to start another beer cap business.
Yeah, but the bars are closed, so now we have no supply of bottle caps or free
all within just 2 weeks of you not having a job. Look at how much you started. So I'm telling you to not get some stupid job that's going to waste your time.
This is an issue.
I like it because...
And push yourself.
I've read tons of articles that, I mean, whenever you don't have much to lose, I mean, think about it. If you make $20 an hour, you make roughly 40 grand a year. How easy is it to go make 40 grand on your own? I mean,
easy.
I've had, it was always a dream of mine to drive company vehicles with a company name on the side of it, and I've had that twice now. I've had it. Everyone that looks at that and says, I want to drive that vehicle with, oh, that's awesome, they get a vehicle allowance. I've had that twice, and I've quit both those because I hate it. And it's like, I'm driving, they're giving me a little bit of money, but I'm putting their name on the side of my vehicle.
When it could be
my own, and I'm representing someone else, and I think that's a very interesting. Like I said, looking from the outside in, everyone wants that, but those people driving that vehicle, whenever you drive by them and you're jealous of them, don't be, because they probably hate their life.
And that's what I say all the time. Like me, I just have a really hard time with working for someone else. I think bartending and serving kind of did that to me, because you are kind of working, like you're working for your own money, you're working for those tips. So seeing how much I can make doing that, and then on top of it, like starting this jewelry business, I can see how much I can profit from just that. And I'm like, why would I ever want to go waste my time and work under someone, for someone?
So I think that like this conversation is ridiculously one-sided, because all three of us are entrepreneurial, and I think a lot of people that listen won't like understand or won't even know where to start. So I kind of just want to test that, because I'm very much struggling, because I look at it a different way than she does, where she looks at it like, I think it's easy to make 40 grand and I just can go do it. And she has a good business that she could double, triple down on and be okay. Where like me, I'm so money oriented like you, that the reason I'm working a job is not because I love it and I want to do it for the rest of my life, but it's because I hate leaving open time where I'm going negative. And for that meaning is when my income is not meeting my outcome and I'm going down in my bank account, no matter how high it is. I hate it. It's the absolute worst feeling. I don't sleep. So that's where like she says she bartends and serves, and that's where I tried to help her like see my eyes where like her bartending and serving is me going to work a dumb job, because I don't mind working. I can work all the time, and especially while I'm young, I need to like try to stack my money as much as I can, so I don't want to put a 6-month gray area in there when I've worked so hard to stack it as much as I have. So that's like something I'm definitely struggling with here, because I need to make a decision if I'm going to do what you're doing. You're kind of taking the path that I would take if it wasn't for her, but she pushes me.
I've got a girlfriend too, and it's totally changed my dynamic on my path. Sorry, Maddie, but if I wasn't with you, I would almost guarantee I'd have my own business. It's crazy, but I think that everyone should look for a significant other to help balance them out, because I think it's a good balance, is my argument to that.
For sure. It definitely is. I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I would take the stable job, easy way out, honestly, but she pushes me the other way. It's just tough for me, because if I had an idea that I could triple down on right now, it would be fine. And the issue with all of this is I have a business that I could triple down on and probably make 6 figures in 3 months, but we're moving because I want to move. She wants to move. It's not just her. It's definitely both of us. I've always wanted to move. I almost went to college in California. So I feel like that I can't let that hold me here for the rest of my life, even though it is a great opportunity. But I think like I struggle because I have that thing that I've put 3 years into, and my dad's put time into too, but I need to move and take a step away. So like from her standpoint, it's like so easy for her to say, because she has an income to fall back on, even if it's just $50 a day. I have nothing. So like instantly when I don't do anything, I panic. Like it's the worst feeling ever. I have no clue where I'm going to get money from. I could live for probably a year or two pretty easily with no income, but it's just not okay. You know what I mean? And that's like where we're different on money. We were probably raised different than a lot of people, but it's so much of a struggle to balance that. And I think like for people out there, like what I want to wrap this up all into is you need to definitely take some time for yourself, because as we have an example here, the job is not always the best way, but I think a job is for some people, and it definitely needs to be there for our economy to run and for people to run. But if you have that job, just make sure it's something you're passionate about and something you actually truly care about, because I think that makes it a lot easier, even if you are working for somebody else, because a lot of people don't have the entrepreneurial gene that we have.
But the people that do have that gene, frickin' go out there and do it. That's all that I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, and like, I get the go do it thing. It's just like the finding your why. And I think, so we can get into why I started the podcast, and that is exactly why. I had a conversation with a professor for like 2 hours, a great guy, and he owns a couple businesses and stuff, and he walked away from like a super high up job at IBM when it was like basically the Google of today, and he just walked away from a great job, basically to be an entrepreneur, and he says greatest decision he's ever made in his life.
Damn.
So we had this conversation, and he said, I need to stop focusing, because I know you're the same way probably, we need to stop focusing on short-term money and instead do something we love, and then maybe it'll turn into money. So that's where I got this idea, because I've been struggling so much the last like 6 months that it's so frustrating when I don't have lakeshore potential to do when it's the winter. And I've been struggling to find a place to put my energy, because I work a job, I go to school, and I still get bored, and I work out every day, and I still get bored. I'm like, how do other people do this? Because like I only have so many hours, but I'm still ridiculously frustrated because I'm not putting my energy into something. And the reason we started this is because I thought that I wanted to do something that I love, and the only thing I can think that I love to do is talk and connect with people and try to help people, honestly, because I like truly from the bottom of my heart I want to help people, because I know it's so tough, especially with the way some people are raised. Some people are taught to go straight through the school system without understanding where they should be going, where they should be spending their money. So instead of focusing on nothing I love and just focusing on the money, where can I make money next for a couple months, instead I had to eat money. This cost like $600 to get all this.
That's a pretty sweet setup.
Yeah, I mean, we got to get some different microphones so you don't have to do this. But instead I decided to go negative on it. And it's made me really happy. So hopefully, way down the road, we can make some sort of money out of it. But I do get the point of, if you are struggling, you want to do something for yourself, maybe get a job stocking overnight or something to pay the bills, and then try to put something into somewhere. You don't have to make money now. But like, this is what I'm passionate about, and I love this shit, even if 5 people listen to it. Seriously. Like, I love talking to people. We have these conversations even if we're not on a podcast, and that's kind of where the whole idea came about, is like, we go to the gym. We sit in the parking lot of the gym for 2 hours talking about, like...
Pre-workout, running through our veins, like, ba 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 ba.
Been there.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was a long tangent of basically like that's the best advice I can give somebody if they're struggling and want to do something for themselves is like maybe it is not always about money as much as it pains me to say, but you can't just do something you love and never make money doing it. You need to get some other job to supplement that income because there's enough time in the day where you can do both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do agree we might have a one-sided argument there, and I guess if I was to ever start a business, and I'm not telling anybody to go quit their jobs, I would highly advise against it actually. But to join an organization that values you and having a flexible work schedule, if they're expecting you to be there from 8 to 5, that's just not what our generation wants. And I think for the people that do want to work for someone is we need more organizations providing that for them, just flexibility and understanding them. And I think that's going to propel our generation next. And that's the next. We've got a bunch of old boys running our bigger companies right now.
Yep. And it's a problem.
That's a problem.
It's going to be a problem because we're getting to the point where it's right in the middle of the disconnect, where it's not 75% older generation and 25% younger. Now it's like right in the middle where we're having the most, fluctuation of opinion. Mm-hmm. And I do get what you're saying because like that's something, it's culture. That's what you're talking about if people don't know yet.
Exactly.
But that is definitely one thing I've heard from good companies and like good people that own their businesses. And then even myself is like, they value culture over your resume, over anything, the type of person you are, the type of person you're going to be with them. Because like, that's what I ask, like of Lakeshore Potential. We have like 3 kids that work for us, 4 kids that work for us. And they're great because if they're honest and they need a day off or they want to do something with their family or something, you just got to tell me, just have the respect to tell me. And I'm almost never going to say no. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that's like the older opinion that you're talking about is like people expect you to be there every single day, 8 to 5, hardly have any vacation time, no flexibility, especially in the era we're living in right now with the thing. It's just like you have to be flexible with people, and people are just going to continue to get more sad, less productive, more pissed if you're not flexible with people. Mm-hmm. And people are more than capable of doing their work from home, doing their work on a flexible schedule. Like that's even like me when I work my jobs. I don't know if you experience this too, but almost every job I've worked for somebody else, I have to drag my feet to get any bit of, like, I feel like I'm doing nothing. Like I do 2 hours of work in a 6-hour day, where if they were to just compensate you for that, you'd do your job even better and faster and be more happy, and then they'd be more happy because your quality of work would be better.
Exactly. So happier people don't focus on the money, focus on culture, and I think that's going to propel our generation. And with entrepreneurs like us at the top, hopefully we can provide that for the people that do want to just go to work. But I want you to be happy at the end of the day. And I wasn't happy right now, so that's where I'm looking for something else, and I think I've found that. But anyways, I think that kind of wraps that up, or if you've got any other points on that. No,
I mean, that's good. You good there? Mm-hmm. We can go into education and your viewpoint on just education system as a whole.
I'm curious about
this. Because I'm definitely, we need to change it. It's not the greatest, so just give me a rundown, basically, of everything.
Yeah,
we'll go from there.
I love education, and you were hitting on some points that it's not about money, and I've very seriously considered going back to school to become a professor or just be a high school or middle school teacher. Sounds crazy, but I truly enjoy helping people, and I was pumped to be on this because I wanted to be able to help people. But I view education as a very important factor in people's lives, and you can shape people's lives. And I just think that's an awesome opportunity. But this goes back to our horticulture teacher in high school, Mr. Asp. He was one of the best educators I personally think I ever had, because he taught me, and I credit 50% of my life to Kyle Asp.
Really?
Yep. He taught us about investing. If you took everyday economics with him.
Economics teachers are the best.
No, this guy wasn't the best teacher.
Yeah.
But he changed the trajectory of my life. He brought up some of those. He taught us how to do our taxes. And I just think it's crazy that this guy, he's an interesting guy. He's no longer at the school, so I guess that probably speaks for itself. But he taught us about all the things that were going to matter after high school. And anyway, he took me on the horticulture trip to South Dakota to judge some flowers that I never me and Ben Brand, my best friend from high school, we never even went to our flower judging contest. We just hung in the SDSU cafeteria and people watched, probably Babe watched, to be honest. And I was like, I'm going to Brookings. So I signed up, went to Brookings. I did my first year, and overall, I think college broadened my horizons so much. So a couple examples from Brookings. I lived in a dorm. I've lived at home my whole life. And I don't know necessarily that it's the value of education that I got out of it, but the experiences, the people I met. For example, in my speech class, I hate public speaking. Yep. This made me nervous
Most
tonight.
people do.
Me too.
So anyway, we had to give 4 speeches. We were halfway through the semester. I went out to a party, and the girl from my speech class, I walk in the door, instantly all over me. I mean, insane. So just experiences like that. She never talked to me in speech again, but probably alcohol induced. But just experiences like that, getting out of your comfort zone. And then also from my speech class as well, I was working out at the gym, and I had the cheerleading team come up and ask me to be on the co-ed cheer team. So I went to a couple practices and tossed around some girls, and it was awesome. Something I've never experienced. It was just
out of your comfort zone.
Out of my comfort zone. Just going to South Dakota, being in Brookings, just completely out of my comfort zone. And I think that's what college should push people to do. Maybe don't focus so much on, I guess it's a big investment.
So, off of that, I have the same opinion on education as a whole. Like, the experience needs to be there, because if you're only with your family, it's bad. It's bad because you only get one-sided viewpoints. Like, you grow up with them your entire life before that, so you already are associated one way when it comes to anything. And this is just like a time where you get to go out, get to meet people with different opinions, get to see both sides of things a lot more, and definitely get pushed out of your comfort zone, which is always good. And we all recommend that, I guarantee that. But from that, that's why I think education can be restructured much better than it is. I have no problem with the education system as a whole, but my problem is it hasn't changed since 100 years ago. And like you're saying, the workplaces need to change just with management style, and that's basically like a 5-year thing. Like 5 years ago it was still okay. Like, think about how long it's been since school has really changed. Like, since...
Even you talked about your economics teacher. How many teachers are there out there that actually teach those kind of things? It's rare.
It's very
rare. So, like we're saying, teachers like that, there needs to be more of that being taught, not biology.
And that's exactly where I said I'd like to go back to school, because I feel I could seriously change and instill, but you're going to have to change the whole system from the top. One person isn't going to change the world. That's false, but
anyway. That's kind of what you're saying, and I get it, because like, if I had anything that I could do and just be able to make good money on, it would honestly be like not a counselor, but like that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to basically help
counsel.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, give them advice, and like, I've always thought that, honestly, and it's so weird. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but if they were to make more money, I could for sure be a teacher or a counselor or somebody that
you should be an inspirational speaker.
But that's just like, you can't just become that. You know
that's
what I mean? Like, that takes years. But this is what we're trying to start with, basically. And I think like one person can change many lives. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's just one life, you're still changing somebody's life. You know what I mean? So it is interesting that you say that, and I don't know. I struggle with the only reason like I couldn't do that is because of the pay, because we're so money oriented.
Exactly.
And that's a terrible thing to say. But that's why I'm starting this, because I am passionate. And I think we could get some good people on here with some good opinions that could change a lot of people's lives, because it could start them earlier. Like, a lot of people, for example, I have good credit. I'm sure you have an amazing credit score.
It's almost 800. Wow. I haven't broke 800 yet.
So I'm probably around like 760, 765.
750.
Yeah, so still good, in the excellent category. And it's the only thing that's dinging me is I didn't have enough credit cards, so the age of credit is bad. It's the only thing that's dinging me. But, for example, on Ethan's podcast, we talked about credit cards, and so many random people messaged me that I haven't talked to in forever were like, thank you for like shedding light on that. I've never even understood that like at all before. People that are like good with money too just have no clue. Also with credit cards, people don't even know their credit score. So many people were like, okay, I'll get that credit card when I put it on my story, try to get the referral and try to get them money, free money. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll get that. I'm like, what's your credit score? Like, it's you got to have at least like 690. where do I find my credit score? And they're like 23, so it's probably not anywhere
They're
good.
off to a bad start.
Yep. So I think like even as little as just like shedding light on maybe you should figure out what that is, you know? Like things like this, conversations like this can help one person, 5 people, 10 people, and that can change a lot of people's lives. Like you don't need to change the whole world, just even one person. And that's why like if we go 4 hours and one person listens to the end, that might be the life that, you know, who cares about the views? It's about like even 2 people seeing it and helping them. That might change their entire life.
That's literally why I was excited to be on this podcast, because I don't know that I've changed anyone's life yet, but if you do have any questions or investing or just want output or input, hit me up. I love helping people.
Maybe we should talk about your budgeting and what led you to that and how you do it and why you do it, because we just hardly touched on that, but that's something I don't even do, and I think of myself as good with money, so I guarantee you 98% of people aren't doing that.
So many people I talk to are like, I have zero budgeting in my life. I just spend and...
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, your credit card, I put 100% of my stuff on my credit card because I get cash back. And then it literally breaks it down. At the end of the year, it gives you an end-of-year summary. I export it every month, and I analyze where I'm at. I've got it conditionally formatted so it changes colors. And I can tell you I've spent about $110 a month on eating out this year so far. I've spent $5 a month on entertainment, so I'm lacking in the entertainment field. And then my auto and vehicle is like $500 a month. So it's just, you already have the tools. Just another thing is college taught me how to use Excel. They should preach that more in high school, but I literally live in Excel and then just the cloud, so I can pull it up anywhere I'm at. But I just started with an Excel file. And
Did you learn that from anybody? Or?
The budgeting?
Yeah, or like the Excel, like marking all of your expenses and categories.
This goes back to my parents. I come from a very reserved, stingy family, and I've just followed exactly in those footsteps.
Not a bad thing.
I can attest that too. Like my mom has plenty of money, and so did my dad growing up, and he still does. And like we were so cheap, it's ridiculous. Like we could never get a candy bar at the gas station. We could never get anything to drink. You're an hour from home. You'll be fine. Get a drink when you get home. And like that's something generational. Like now you see kids today, like they don't get $10 worth of candy at a gas station, they're gonna spaz out. You know what I mean? Which is a whole other topic, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
but you could keep going with the budgeting.
So as far as the budgeting, I literally just started with an Excel file, and I kind of started it backwards because I use a credit card so you can track everything that you spend if anything funky's going on. I just like being able to analyze the exact numbers. So a credit card is great for that, even if you're not getting any points. Because if you use cash, it's not. I probably spend more because I use a credit card. So and pay off your bill every month. These are the things they don't tell you. If there's an annual fee, just be aware of those. But as far as I was seeing what I was spending, I'm like, I'm spending way too much on food. So I keep a pulse on it. And anyway, I start with my monthly salary, and then I less out all my bills that I know what they are, and then I use allowances for the things that might change a little bit. But really, it's just a simple like 10-line Excel sheet is how I keep track of my budgets. Everyone needs, I'm a numbers guy, and I guess for budgeting, you literally just got to start at the top, add everything up, go back 3 months and see what your bills add up to.
See where you can cut expenses.
It's pretty simple. And then, cutting expenses, I don't go to the bar. I mean, we'll get into that like a little bit later, like drinking, entertainment, and where you spend your money outside of it. Yeah. But just because that's a long topic. Yeah. We'll talk about that forever. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I've got an Excel sheet I kept track of. Back to the college conversation, I spent $49,000 and some change on my 4-year education, and I kept track of everything. And I started from the start keeping track of that, because if you try to track it down 3 years in, you're going to have a tough time saying, what book did I buy, or how much did I pay for that book? But I kept track of it all along, and I think that's where, if you're starting from scratch, just start now.
Just start. Mm-hmm. That's the thing.
And for people that don't want to go through all that, I know there's apps out there that will automatically connect to your bank account and, yes, track everything, put it in categories so you can see exactly where your money's going and coming. And
Yeah, it'll. I think
I don't know the apps. I
Like
don't know the names.
Mint is
Yep.
one for sure.
I think it intimidates a lot of people to actually look at it
Oh,
and analyze
definitely.
it.
Even me, I'm like, oh.
That's why I don't do it, honestly, but I should. And we should honestly say, if anybody wants help budgeting, please let us know, because this is where we can start. This is where we can start helping people, honestly.
Yeah.
If anybody out there needs help, wants any more advice, wants a phone call with one of us, we will gladly take it. But where I was going to go with this too is people just don't even understand how much money they're spending a month, so for me, I look at everything as like a trade-off, basically. Like, I can't spend that much because I'm not even near making that much. So why does that make sense? Where like a lot of people have no clue what they make in a month, for one. And all you need to do is work it backwards, right? You figure out what you make in a month, exactly like you said, and just go backwards. And then you'll figure out, hey, after everything that I need to live, right? I'm spending, let's say, $1,000 a month, and I make $3,000. You have $2,000, maybe $1,000 to investing or anything, but
just saving even.
Just work it backwards to understand what you're spending a month and what you're making a month, because a lot of people just have no clue. And once you break it down for them too, it's a lot less intimidating, because they'll be like, oh shit, like, where is that extra $600?
It's mind blowing how much you actually spend on dumb shit.
Well, and entrepreneurs are so smart, we know exactly how to dip into your pockets. So I'm playing both sides of the coin here, but I went to look at a vehicle recently, and their first question was, what are you comfortable with on monthly payments? And I told them a really low number, and they're like, well, everyone that comes in here is $600 to $700 to get a new vehicle a month. And I'm like, oh, there's the problem. But no one's being educated, and they just make it. They would have gotten me $300 a month payments, but on a 10 or 12 year loan on a frickin' vehicle. But they know how to get into the consumer's pockets once again.
Aren't vehicles like one of the worst investments to
Yes.
buy new? Like, even if you buy it a few years older, that's better than buying new, because the second you take it off the lot, it loses like
$7,000 or something. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Crazy amount.
So, I mean, what I could say to that is every vehicle I've ever purchased has been all in cash, which we can, like, there's uses for loans and uses for credit, and I'm not saying I always do that, but even if you have money, a vehicle is one of the dumbest things you can buy unless you have like an abundance of money. Mm-hmm. Like, that should be one of the last places you look to put your extra money, because it's a depreciating asset. And it is nice to have something nice, but you gotta, like, you can have something nice for $10,000.
Absolutely.
Plenty nice. So stop. Like, the first thing I see people do when they get out of school and get a job is buy a brand new car, and they put it on Instagram. They're like, look at my first big girl purchase.
I'm one of those people.
Well, I mean, you have the money though. Like, that's where, like, you are different. Like, unless you have an abundance of money and can completely afford it, you should not touch it, especially if you don't have enough in your bank account to buy it outright. You don't have to do that, but if you don't have enough to at least buy it outright once, you should never even look at it. You should probably have enough to at least buy it outright twice to even be comfortable in that situation.
And I find that interesting too. It goes back to social media and the whole issue, I guess, just the root of all of it. But most of it is these people graduate college, they go buy a brand new vehicle, and the first thing they do is put it on Instagram. And I never really wanted to show it off. I'm like, I want something dependable to get me from point A to point B. And I think if people are out there like, I want a nice vehicle, think about it. Is it going to get you to work? I know tons of excuses in today's world. Cars broke down. It's like, okay, you can buy a nice car for $7,000 or whatever. Yeah. So I think taking out a loan on it's not a terrible investment.
It's not. But to be able to take that loan out, you should be able to buy it at least once in cash.
Correct.
You shouldn't be taking out a loan that overextends you that much.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to say. A loan is not the worst thing. I'm just tolerant.
Yeah, well, and there's trade-off values to loans. And
aren't loans good for your credit?
They are. They are.
Yeah, so I have no problem with taking out a loan. I just want to make sure, like, you're not buying something you can't afford, because that's the dumbest possible thing you can do.
Oh, yeah, and they'll make a way for you to afford it. Trust
me. That's why you can't listen to them. But I mean, we can talk about a little bit more of like the spending habits that some people have, and the differences that you have to, I have to, she has.
Yeah.
Where you're spending your money. Like, where's your biggest expense outside of something that you absolutely need to do?
Vehicle, because I had bought a new truck, and it was a terrible investment. Anybody listening, terrible investment.
Okay.
To piggyback off of that, though, I think it goes well with investing, in which we can get into a little bit,
we're gonna have to eventually.
Kind of being aware of the fees there and whatnot. But as far as spending, I mean, I listened to one of your recent podcasts too, and they said they never buy the combo meal. You can break it out, and I mean, my stingy lifestyle is rubbed off on my brothers, and we go to McDonald's now, and it's like you get the app, and it's 2 for $5, and you never get the drink. It's crazy because people are so numb to it, and that's exactly how these big companies are just taking advantage of people, in my opinion. And it's not hard to be aware of what you're spending. Just take 10 seconds and think about it is the biggest thing. Like before impulse buys, I think.
And Apple Pay has made that so much easier.
But yeah, I mean, with that, like, just same topic of like money wise and what I should have added before for anybody that didn't watch my podcast with Ethan, because we haven't talked about credit cards very in depth here, but we definitely should. You should sign up for a credit card. You should pay it off right away. You shouldn't let a statement close on it. You should only spend what you have in your checking, and you should definitely have a savings that has way more than your checkings.
And that was one of the like things that people don't know is like right when it shows up in your account, pay it off.
Don't ever let a statement close, because credit utilization is one of the biggest things that dings you. So even if you have a $3,000 credit limit and you spend $1,500 and you pay it off, doesn't matter if it closes and then you pay it off once it closes that month, it dings you like it's crazy. So
I've been there. Yep.
That's one thing that they don't teach you. Another thing is you should start when you're 18, get a no annual fee credit card and no minimum payment credit card, and you should put gas on it once a month and then pay it off from your checkings. It'll start you off on the right foot.
Yeah, I think credit cards are a great tool. I'm trying to think of any other financial tools. I think paying in cash isn't terrible because then you know you have the money to buy it. You're definitely more, I guess, concerned about where that dollar goes. So,
yep. I mean, the biggest thing with credit cards is like the cash back, and that's where I get to like every little thing adds up, even if it's 1%. That's why I always pay in a credit card, because I'm not getting anything for it if I'm paying in cash. But starting from the bottom, if you don't have a lot of money, maybe cash is the way to go.
Yeah, but get a credit card
still
for
get
sure.
that credit
Yes,
card.
apply.
Put gas on it once a month. That's it. That's all you got to do. And I think that's one of the things that's helped me out the most is like, it's ridiculous. I don't know if you listen, but I got like 80,000 free points for this new card I just got. So maybe you might have to sign up for that one. We'll have to talk about this after. I mean, that's $1,000 cash back or $1,000 in travel. So, I mean, every little bit counts, and that's the thing that you gotta understand.
That's what I've struggled with, is trying to get people to use my rewards or that sign-up bonus, but they don't have credit score to
Nobody does. Everybody that I've talked to, like one person knew their credit score. So, I mean, if you have any questions about credit cards as well, anything, budget, credit cards, we can get you started. We can help you. We can walk you through it, because it is a little intimidating applying for it, knowing what you're applying for, and knowing how to get it, basically. So anybody that wants to know that too, reach out to us and we'll get you connected.
And if you don't know it, just Google it. And that's
you
the
can
thing,
find
the power of the technology at our hands. And I've recently been watching podcasts just to learn more about everything. And if I'm a curious guy, I'm always, my phone's an extension of me. I Google, it just makes me a smarter person. And I don't know anything, but if there's something I'm interested in, I'm hitting up Google or whatever it is just to find out more on it. And it's crazy, like changing my wiper blades on my vehicle. I don't know how to do it. I just do a YouTube video, and that's just like investing. No one taught me how to do it.
So we could definitely move into investing here a little bit, because we had Dan on the podcast before, and he's a penny stock investor, and we didn't really go too deep in like to what it all is, or we didn't want to bore people, but we can start now at the bottom, because I want to explain it to you as well what I'm doing right now. He also brought up a really unique idea that we should have a class in high school where they make you run a portfolio with $100,000, but it's fake money. It's called paper trading, and then you see who can get to the most money at the end of the semester. So then it gives insight on how to trade, and maybe some people don't like it, but then people can understand like what can happen if you learn the technicals and actually know what.
That's an awesome idea. Yeah.
So that's just a unique idea of how to help education. Honestly, one class right there that could help, obviously taxes and stuff as well. But so investing, I started probably when I was 18, a little bit. And obviously you're more of a safer, long-term investment guy. And when I started in 2018 or 2017, I bought Bitcoin at the top, lost some money on that, but I thought it was really cool, like, because I made money first and then didn't sell, lost money. And it was just really cool to me that I could see money go up and down from my phone for no reason at all, basically, until I learned, everything of what's going on behind the scenes. And that's where we'll get started. Basically, if you have any money and you want to play around with investing or get into it, it can be as little as $5. I mean, like we said on the episode with Dan, a guy turned 17 into 35K in 3 weeks, and don't strive for that because that's a ridiculously hard thing to do, but it is possible. So like the first excuse that everybody gives me is I don't have money for that. And like you said, that's because everybody, when they get their paycheck, they buy everything they want first and then take it off the top at the end, and then it's gone. Mm-hmm. But instead, I guarantee you, if you put $50 a month and do this Robinhood account or Webull account, you won't even understand that it's going away because it's before you even see it. So you should be doing that, as little as $10, $5 a month even. So originally I got my start in investing Bitcoin. Then I opened up a Robinhood back in the day, and then I was playing with like $500 because I didn't have a crap ton of money, and even that's a good amount of money. And I was just trading stuff, basically having no clue what was going on, because it was just cool to see that I could swipe up and buy it with no fee, swipe up and sell it with no fee. And I didn't really get into it until maybe 8 months ago, basically when it hit, because it's like the classic story, and for anybody that watches it from the investing community, it's the classic like meme story, throw your $1,200 into Robinhood. And I started in like March with maybe $3,000 or $4,000 and was just messing around. And there's a great community on Twitter. So like if you want to get started, Atlas Trading on Twitter, Discord, I can send you the link for that. So please reach out if you have any questions on this topic when we're done too. There's a great like Discord chat room called Atlas Trading that Zach Morris and PJ started, and basically it's like educational on everything you need to learn on how to trade these stocks and like what to do. And it goes just hours of education, honestly. If you put in the time, you can make money in this. And what I'm trying to get to is I can do it for my phone commission free. There's a great Twitter community, so we'll maybe put a link to some of these guys' Twitters in the description of this video. But how I started was basically just following these guys blindly on Twitter and realizing that I could make money off of somebody else telling me what to do. And they're great because they provide that for free. Like, that is a ridiculous service to be providing for free, and they do that. So essentially what I learned is, holy shit, I can make 20% even in a week, which is insane. On $100, 20% is $20. I mean, if you compound that, $100 on $1,000, 20%, 200. So I started that way, which is about the dumbest thing you can do with your money if you're playing with big money, but it's good to learn, basically, to maybe just follow them, see what type of trades they're making, see why they're making it, when it goes up, when it goes down, get into the YouTube videos to learn before you start trading with big money. But basically, I got into that, started trading with a little bit, ended up turning 5,000 into 10,000, complete luck. Like, I'm not taking any credit. I'm going to give all the credit to the people on Twitter because they tell you when to buy, they tell you when to sell, basically. And I got really lucky, turned 5K into 10K. And then this was like July, and the market was still really hot, like right in then on the rebound. And then pennies went cold in August, and we were going on a trip, and I put that 10, and I was trying to decide where to put it. There was 3 different stocks that people were tweeting about that I was researching a little bit. I started to get into a little bit more, understood what was going on a little bit more. Ended up putting $5,000 in one, $5,000 in the other, which I don't recommend. I'm completely just all in for risk. Like, I'm an all in. Like, that's not the safest way to do it too. There's much easier ways and much safer stocks that are almost guaranteed to go up. I'm just taking the biggest risk possible by putting 100% in one thing. But like just to kind of tell you what could happen, right? So I put $5,000. I rolled the 10K I made off of 5. I rolled it into 2 stocks, 5K each. Those both went down. I ended up losing like $2,000. But the third one that I was trying to pick from went 500% the next week. So let me just tell you that my $5,000 would have turned into 25. That's life changing. That's life changing. And this happens. If you do your research, you can find these plays. So it's basically just like a hobby for me, and like something I put a lot of time into now, and I'm trying to learn more.
So think about if you were doing that 40, 50 hours a week instead of working for someone.
I know, that's where I'm trying to get to. And after I lost $2,000, it kind of like discouraged me, and the market was really bad at that point, like in August for penny stocks, which what we trade is like anything under $5, and then you get into mid caps, which are like a little bit higher, under 50, under 100, nothing big because it doesn't move very much. But it kind of discouraged me. I pulled my money out. I was like, I can't lose anymore. Like, I'm up $3,000. I got to take this and run. So when she got the thing, a month ago and the market started getting hot. I was bored at home. I'm like, hey, I have some money. Let's throw $5,000 in. It's insane, but in 3 weeks, I've somehow managed to turn 6.5K because I deposited more because I wanted more money in because I wanted something that I didn't have. I turned 6.5K into right now 14.5K in 3 weeks. And that is not 100% obtainable. People do much better than me. People do much worse than me. You shouldn't strive for 100%. You should strive for even a percent a day is great. But all I'm trying to say is it's possible, even with me not knowing. I'm just learning. Like, I'm just getting my feet wet, trying to put in hours on my phone. She always gets mad at me because I'm always on my phone. But if you want something to do and want a hobby, right? Like, you want to start learning how to do this. Like,
or a hobby that's going to be beneficial to you.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, even $100 into a Robinhood account, and then you just start trading a little bit and trying to figure out, what's going on. And it's tough to even like start to get into like how to trade because that could be 30 hours long. So what we're going to do is we're just going to link all the videos that we want in the Atlas Discord because they provide a ton of free education. And that's what I want to stress too. These guys are doing this for free. There's a guy on Twitter, Zach Morris, that my buddy Bjorn on the last podcast. So he introduced me to like this community of Twitter, basically. Like I was doing it myself just for fun. And I made like $200 on Tesla back in March or something. I was super hyped. I was like, holy crap, And then he turned me on to like this group of Atlas and like these Twitter guys. And there's a guy, Zach Morris, who made $1 million today. This is a Twitter guy that's calling out. Yeah, he made $800,000 the day before. He's calling out his plays for everybody to see. Not obviously like exactly real time, but giving you a heads up, like, hey, maybe you should look into it. And they're not financial advisors, so they can't tell you to buy or sell something. Yep. But they can just, let you know what's going on, if they're going to add a position or not. And you can do your own research and decide to buy or not. But it's definitely possible. And, like, that's what we tried to show in last episode with Dan. He said he was down to his last $2,000 after he got fired right before COVID, so he didn't get unemployment. He's now turned that $2,000 into, like, 80K. You can do it if you put in the time. And we'll try to link you and help you to any description you want if you want to try to get started. And it's just a fun thing to do and a good hobby to watch if you like want to try to put your energy into something that's, obtainable.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, I want you to ask all the questions that other people would ask as well.
So so to me, from the outside looking in, I'm a low risk investor in Vanguard, which I think I'll give my side of the story to after we're done, or I guess arguing this or whatever you want to call it. Discussing is a much better term. So anyway, it seems too good to be true, and I think that turning $2,000 into 80,000 kind of gives people false hope, and they give up way too quick. Like you said, you lost a couple thousand a couple times.
Yep.
So I think the thing to really stress is that start small and don't rely on it. Don't go in 40 hours a week.
So what you should do, and that's like what they say as well. I'm just trying to give stories like it definitely is possible. Like even me, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know shit. Like I'm starting to learn, right? Like just scratching the surface. These guys put in hours on end for like research into these companies for us. And then they put it on Twitter. I'm starting to get to be able to find plays myself that like not these Twitter guys are on and that are going a couple percent,
So are you reading charts or?
Yep. Reading charts and then like reading into, is there going to be a PR about this? There's a lot and this will have to be saved for that. But the too good to be true part is, it's not, honestly, and we're not making you pay for anything. Neither is anybody. Nobody's asking you to pay for them to make these calls for you.
I think that's a huge red light if you're paying for something.
We can mention Forex because a lot of people think this is Forex. This is not. This is real stocks. This is commission free. This is no money a month. You don't have to put in anything other than your information into the brokerage app, which is Robinhood, Webull, TD Ameritrade, things
I actually just put together my Webull account last night, and it was simple, straightforward. They asked for a couple questions, and I'm like, this seems legit.
Yeah, and you get like two free stocks, and so do I. And that's what the 17 to 35,000. Those were his 2 free stocks. He turned that into. Yeah, it's just nuts. So essentially, what I'm trying to get to with the don't try to strive for turning 2K into 80K. What you should strive for is whatever amount you're comfortable losing or comfortable trading with as a risk, you should put in and then make a goal. You have to have a plan, right? Like I am extremely risky. Like I am extremely risky and I'm trying to get as rich as quick as
In
possible.
summer?
You can go.
No, I was about to say I'm the less risky of the two. I'm more of like, okay, I'll put my money in there and not look at it for a few weeks, few years. Like, I don't care. It's extra money that would be sitting in my bank account anyways. So if there's any opportunity for me to make money on it, then that's what I'll do.
Okay, and that's the audience I'd like to get the whole spectrum here, from the people that want the low risk, don't worry about it, don't have to be on Twitter researching it.
Yeah.
But I'm intrigued by what you're talking about here, Logan.
There is those type of plays that people will give you or you can research yourself that are like, I mean, there's day trading, which is, buying and selling a security that day, and like scalping, which is basically like buying something on news and then riding it for 5% and getting out. There's swing trades, which is if you have under 25,000 in your account and you can't day trade because they put a pattern day trade rule where you can't make 3 day trades in a 5-day period if you don't have 25K. If you don't, I recommend swing trading, which is basically like it can be, I mean, whatever your definition of it is, but buying something because you think it has like a catalyst in front of it, the chart looks good, for like a week to a month or to 6 months even, or to a year, because that's all still short term, not long term. But like that's where I do the best right now, and that's where I know a lot of people do the best is, buying it when nobody's on it, seeing that in the next 2 months they might have some good PR coming out or something, and you just ride that for 2 months for 50% gain or something like that. And I've helped her recently because she's got more into it, but you should tell him just quickly your story when you only put $300 into your account and what happened. Just so like you can say even your safe plays could end up turning massive, and that's what you should tell him. Like you should tell him that story quickly.
The Novavax?
Yeah.
I bought 2 shares. I always like listen to him and what he says, and whatever he doesn't buy, I go and buy real quick. And
so you can be
this
right.
was back when I only had like $300
total in your account.
I was just playing around, and I bought 2 shares of a stock called Novavax. And they were $7 a piece, or $7.14, so $14 total. And this was earlier this year that I bought them, and I looked back at it in like August, and it had gone to $180 a stock.
Each share.
3,000%. So let me just put this into context. She bought 2 shares, $14, made $300 off of that, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I'm saying if you have money in your bank account, which I know you do, you can risk $5,000 to have a very diverse portfolio. You don't have to be swing trading, but this also allows you to be a little bit more risky than like an ETF or an index or whatever would. So essentially what I'm saying is she plays the less risky role and ended up with a 3,000, and this is ridiculous too because this is like the top gainer in the year, just really lucky. But
and it had to do with the thing, so that's why.
But you put $1,000 into that. That turns into $30,000 in 6 months. You put $10,000 into that. That's $300,000 in 6 months. So all I'm telling you is if you have the money, even as little as $7 could turn into a ridiculous amount of money. So I mean, you don't have to be checking it every day, and you can play much less risky plays.
So how would you know to buy into that specific stock? I mean, Twitter, or I guess where are you getting?
Somewhat, and then somewhat of your own, and that's why like I don't recommend just throwing a shit ton of money in that you're not comfortable with losing right away.
So talk about like the stocks that you told me to buy and why.
I mean, there's a couple that I told her to buy basically because of where the chart is at right now, and that's just a long conversation. So, but like basically where the chart's at, the risk reward, like that's what you got to trade on. Like how much are you risking for what type of reward you could get? And you can get that by looking at the chart, looking at the way it moves, what type of catalysts they have coming up. If they're a company that's you believe in, that's going to be around for years, and if it's not, if it's a waning company, you know what I mean? So there's some like hers. I told her to buy a safer ETF, DFEN. It's basically an ETF of like Boeing and Raytheon, like any type of like military defense and like planes and stuff. And the reason I said this is my advice, I'm not a financial advisor and I don't know everything, but from why I told her to buy it is I don't think any of those companies are going anywhere ever. It was at about $80. Oh, shit. Pre the thing, it was at about $80. And now it's trading at 17, and it was trading at as low as 8 in March. So It's too bad I didn't have more money and I didn't know more, because if you could have bought anything in March, you'd already have tripled your money. But essentially,
devil's advocate on March, who was going to be buying in because we didn't know where the bottom is.
You never know where the bottom is, but that's like I'm willing to risk some of my money. Like I look at it in a piece of pie, 25% of my money I can risk.
And I think that's it goes back to my budgeting, and the people that might be uncomfortable about this is taking 25% of that and just saying, hey, I'm going to put this here. So, because I know a ton of people get discouraged whenever they lose their money that they put in there. And
but it's good to diversify your portfolio too, because even though you're losing money in this area, most likely you're gaining it in this area, and then you're losing money in this area, but you're gaining more in this area. And it might be all red one day, like you're losing money on all of them, but most likely if you're diversified enough, you'll at least break even or close to it. You won't be losing major amounts.
And essentially, so back to this DFEN, it's trading at it was trading at like $15.50 when I told her to buy it. I bought it at like 12. And of course, I sold it at like 16 for a small, like still a great gain, like 20% or whatever. But I get way too like I need more. I need more money because I just want to move it around. I want to take bigger risks because that's where I'm at in my life. Because I don't have a family, I'm in no debt, so I can take that to try to get to the next level. That's where I'm at. But essentially, I told her to buy this because it's trading at 15, right, when she bought it. Jesus, God,
we're all good.
It's too easy to say that. Pre the thing, it was trading at $80. It's now trading at $15. So the risk reward on that right now is ridiculous. If that goes back to half of what it was pre the thing, that's doubling your money. And that's still only at not even half of what the stock was at. So that right there, with companies that I know are not going anywhere, Boeing, Raytheon.
And where are you getting that information from? Just, I guess I'm kind of really driving this home, but where, just the web?
Yeah, I mean, some people tweeted about it. I looked into it. You got to look into it yourself. I mean, I just checked the chart, saw where it was at.
You can always look on the apps too. Yeah. Like they'll have like descriptions and stories.
Super easy. Yeah. And it's just fun to play around with. I mean, even if you're putting in $20, it might grow to something someday. And just that's what I'm trying to stress too. You don't need a lot of money to do it. And that's back to where you said the big gains. Maybe that's like giving people false hope. What you should focus on is the percent you're making, not money. Don't even look at it like money. Look at it as a percent, because then if you make $100 off $100, that's 100%. You're trading great. If I make 10,000 off of 10,000, still 100%. So don't get discouraged by you not making enough money, because if you're trading and you're that good that you end up understanding how to trade 100%, you'll get to that point really quick. Like that's what I want to stress too, is like right when I started, I was like, holy shit, I made $50 today, right? Now I had like a $4,000 day one day. And like, it's just like, you gotta learn, you know what I mean? It's a learning curve. And that's why you should either paper trade if you're not comfortable losing any money, or you should just throw whatever you're comfortable with losing. And chances are it's not going to go to zero. Like if you know the stocks, it's like not really, unless you trade options, which is a whole other game, but you shouldn't even get into that until you understand stocks. It's probably not going to go to zero, so just trade with whatever you're comfortable with. Try to learn if it's something you're interested in.
I like that, and I think the biggest thing for me is working 50 hours a week. I do have the time, but I'm making the typical human excuse. I'm like, I don't want to research.
So, I mean, there's always time, and it doesn't take a whole ton of time if you're trying to play a little bit safer and you're not throwing stuff in and out, which is
just
what
talk to Logan.
Which is what I do recommend actually. So like that's where like swing is the best, because one good swing, like the 3,000%, could carry everything if it went to zero. So that's where like a lot of people will trade just that. And if you have 4 different positions, and then you're just like, hey, I'm just going to not look at it, which you don't really need to. You can set stop loss or whatever at a price, or like alerts, right? Alert me if this is down 3%, alert me if it's up 5%. You take 4 different positions, and one of them goes down 10%, crappy. One of them goes down 5%, crappy. One of them goes 20%, and then that one, there's a different one that goes 300%. And that is happening in today's market, and it won't always happen. But if you know where to look, it can happen, and that's what I'm trying to stress. So you don't really need a ton of time, honestly, if you're trading like that. There's different trading styles. This is already getting over people's head, and you know what I mean? So I don't want to go too far into it, but there's different trading styles for different people, and you can definitely do it with a full-time job. That's all I'm trying to say.
That's a very powerful tool that I need to look into. I know right now I'm heavily invested in index funds through Vanguard. I worked with financial advisors previously that charged me 1 to 2% of my portfolio. And that was throughout my college years where I did have additional time on my hands. And I'm like, I'm getting screwed. So I read a couple books through Vanguard. I met one guy that probably changed the direction of my life again, too. I can credit my whole life to a few people that changed the trajectory of it. And this guy advised me just to go to Vanguard, and I'm speaking to the people that get overwhelmed and they're like me, don't take a lot of risk, is an alternative to that. I guess once you have a job that with stable income and you're like, hey, I got $3,000 a year on 10% rate of return in the stock market in an index fund, straight 10% rate of return, which is attainable, very attainable. You put it in there, you never worry about it again. That after, if you start at 22 and 43 years to 65, that $3,000 a year is probably going to be worth 1.5 million. And it's crazy. People don't understand the power of compound interest.
Definitely. And why I think that what I'm trying to advocate for is so good for right now and our age is a lot of people don't have the money to think like that. Like, they don't want to think long term. But I do agree you should have at least 50% of it long term. You should be doing both. Yes. But what I'm trying to say is, like, for me right now, I'm like, I want to take some bigger risk because I can. And then some people will be like, I don't want to lose $50, and you should be doing that. I am 100% in agreement with you that you should have that as part of your investing. Yep. But for people that want to just maybe find a hobby and maybe find a different income, that's what I'm trying to get at, because like Robinhood is the easiest thing ever. So we can get into the difference between Robinhood and Webull, because we know, or I wanted to have that discussion with you if you're going to start dabbling in it. You should use Robinhood until you understand why you shouldn't use Robinhood. That's the best way, and that's, I think, Dan's words, honestly. But you should use Robinhood until you understand why you shouldn't be. And the biggest reason is trading hours on Robinhood. It's only like market open until market close, and on Webull it's from 3 a.m. until 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. I think, 7 p.m. our time. So pre-market and aftermarket is when you're gonna like it. Especially pre-market, get the major flips because there's less volume, so like the price can jump insane.
That's crazy. Yeah,
and you should use Robinhood if you're swinging or like anything long term, because it doesn't matter if you can sell it in wee hours of the morning. But once if you get really into it, 100% Webull is a way better platform, and Webull doesn't crash. This morning, Robinhood crashed for an hour, and I couldn't sell anything or buy anything, which it doesn't happen a lot, but it happens to every brokerage, even like E-Trade and stuff, because it'll happen every once. That for the first, and the only reason I'm not on Webull is because I got too many violations for trading way too fast without my money settling, and Robinhood matches my money instantly when I pull it out. That's why I like them. If they had extended hours, I'd always use Robinhood, because it's just you don't have to wait for your money to settle once you pull it out, which is like a couple days. So if you're really trying to throw money around and be risky, it sucks to have to wait for your money, because I'd miss out on a lot of plays. But essentially, Robinhood is like the easiest thing possible, and I want people to reach out. Anybody that has questions really should reach out, because we do some Zooms, me and some buddies, Nick, Bjorn, Colin, Jade, anybody else in the GM. We got like 30 kids in the GM on Snapchat. And we'll do, free Zooms and talk to people and try to help them. And we honestly don't know anything really, but we can at least point them in the right direction of how to, get started. And Robinhood is as easy as signing up, and then, hey, if I think Apple is never going away, let me buy, 50.
Don't you get free stocks for signing up for Robinhood?
Yeah, you get free stocks for signing up for any of those brokerages. If you
that could be the money that you're playing with. Even just signing up, you get something.
Free money, and then you can pull it out too, literally like a week later. If you just want to make $20 right there, sign up for it. So, I'm going to put my link in the description for that if you want to do that.
Put my link in there.
If anybody has any questions, you really need to reach out, because we really want to help you with that. But essentially, Robinhood is so easy. You sign up. If you're blatantly new to this and you have no clue what to buy, think about what you use every day and what you like and what you think is going to be around. So you drink coffee almost every day.
Starbucks,
so
baby.
Buy one share of Starbucks.
That's Amazon.
That's
that's a little expensive.
You can buy fractional shares.
There you go.
So essentially what I'm trying to get at is like you can be completely no clue what's going on, and it's so easy. Basically, it's so easy with this app. You swipe up, you deposit $100, swipe up, easy.
Yeah, I definitely like the keep it simple thing. More simplicity in this world is better, in my opinion.
Yep. So, I mean, basically what I'm just trying to get at is, like, it's doable. And if you have any interest, it could be a side income. Because that's what, like, I'm trying to get at too. Let's say you put $1,000 in and you make 1% every day, you're making an extra stream of income. And even if you make $10 a day in the stock market, think about how much that is over the whole month.
It's
like,
a ton.
That adds up.
Compound interest.
Yes. So
look it up.
you really need to, like, just start somewhere. And everybody says they don't have enough money. Also,
you're never gonna have enough money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Also, what I want to say, Coinbase for cryptocurrency. You don't need to invest in it, but if you want free money, you can sign up and watch videos, and they'll give you like $60 almost total if you complete every video. You can either take a free $60 or leave it in there, and if Bitcoin ever goes to 300K, you might be rich off of $60. Like, so I can put the link in the description for Coinbase as well. You sign up, and you don't need to deposit, and it gives you free money, and throw it into something, and maybe it'll go up 10 years later. There's a lot of ways to have money for free. Like, I have money in crypto as well, but
cheapers. That's awesome. It's intimidating to someone like me, honestly. I guess, and that's my concern but just reaching out, hitting up the web if you've got questions, because I think it's out there and there's a resource base to pull from. One thing that will never change, but it needs to change, and it frustrates me, is, I don't know, people are always concerned about they can't afford to invest, but literally 6.2% of your income goes to Social Security, and your employer pays 6.2% of your income to Social Security. Every paycheck annually, that's 12.4% of your income that you could be investing, but it goes to Social Security every year. And it's just crazy to me that the government is playing with 12.4% of our money, and you could be investing it in a Roth IRA or just a traditional IRA, or investing it in Webull or Robinhood. And
anything.
But my philosophy has always been that no one cares about your money more than you do. So I've always tried to maximize my income, because you care about it the most. And just, I think that's the thing is, I don't know, people, I guess, you don't need these services necessarily, because you can find a way to work around them. And like you said, these are free platforms that you can use. Always be cautious of anything that's trying to charge you. So that's just kind of interesting to me, that these are all free, and we've got government charging us 12% of our income that they think they can utilize it better.
We were talking about investing. Maybe we can wrap this whole subject up. Really, if you have any questions, please reach out. Message me on Instagram through our Next Step Instagram. Message me in my personal. Comment on the YouTube if you have no clue who we are.
Definitely, any girls that are interested, hit me up. I know it's weird.
We're
but
getting a one-sided audience, I feel like, and I think women play a huge role in everything that we do. And I love I usually ask my girlfriend for input. It helps it broadens your horizons. I love that.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, she does it, and she's just getting started, so don't feel intimidated to reach out if you're a girl as well. We can move to goals. You wanted to talk on goals, so give me a little rundown of where you're hoping to go with that, and then we can speak on that.
This for sure plays. I mean, last week I was sitting down with my owner of a multi-million-dollar company doing revenue, and he literally asked me, like, what my goals are. And I looked at him like, I don't know, and I've struggled with this ever since I graduated, 18 months ago, whatever it is. And I mean, throughout high school, and then in college, I had rock solid goals, and I was just running towards them. Like, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd listen to motivational speeches. And
those are the best.
Yeah,
those are good.
I would wake up at like literally 4:45, 4:30 in the morning before high school, and I'd go work out. And because I had concrete goals I was working towards. That stupid competition in football. I won it back-to-back years. Everyone's laughing out there right now that's familiar with that. But no, I'm a competitive guy, and I set goals to be first in that. And I woke up every morning, and I was ready to go get those. Then it moved into college, and I was like, hey, I want to get above a 3.5 GPA.
Yep.
And I crushed it. I had a 3.7 whenever I was done with school. And now that I'm in the professional world, it's kind of like I'm in the everyday life rut. And I think people out there are experiencing the same thing. And it's
a lot of people.
Especially right now, there's not a lot to do, I guess, traveling. But it's like what are those goals? How do you set those? And I guess just helping find your why.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's what I was going to attribute everything to, is finding your why, because if you have no direction, you'll get nothing done. And it's
Yep.
hard to even set goals if you have no direction, or, you know what I mean? Like, basically, without your why, you won't be able to set a direction, and without direction, you can't set goals, and without goals, nothing happens.
Mm-hmm. And not just a motive, you need to plan out steps as well.
yeah, I feel like steps is a huge thing. Like, what's the first step to get there, and then you hit
Yep.
that,
And then
once
you
you
achieve that,
once
and
you
then
see
it's on to the
progress,
next.
I mean, it's just like taking a progress photo of working out. That's what, I mean, this goes back, I've gained 30 pounds since I quit working out like 2 years ago. And it disgusts me, but I'm trying to reignite that fire, and I'm just kind of caught in the day-to-day grind. I just don't wake up in the morning extremely passionate. And
Yeah.
I guess we've talked about trying to find that why, and like I said, making this switch again in my career is helping me work towards that goal of get what is my why. But I think goals drive a person through their life, and if you don't set goals, I think we're all just floating through and we're sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I mean, I'm a big proponent of speaking things into existence, honestly. And I mean, that kind of goes with goals. If you don't have goals, you don't have an end game, and you can't speak anything into existence. Like, I just look at it like, if I'm not telling myself, like, I'm going to have a good day, if I'm not telling myself, like, you know, I'm going to make this amount of money, like, I wrote down, we both did at the start of 2020, goals. Basically, like, you just got to write something down, I think, is the biggest thing. Like, put it
And
on paper, or
I think
put it in your
daily
notes.
goals are just as important as like yearly
And
money-year goals.
yeah, I think that helps with mental health and everything overall. Because if you do something daily, I know there's the stupid speech out there about making your bed daily, and I do that 90% of the days, and it's like you come back at night and you're like, oh, I did something good today. It's just seriously the simple little steps, and like you said, a daily goal can help you with something like that.
I'm a very structured person, so that helps me. Everything that I can mark off of a list, I feel good about and I feel accomplished, even if it's freaking brushing my teeth. I'm like, woo, I did it.
Yep.
I got my goals done for the day.
It basically sets direction for you in a day.
And it helps you with positivity as well, staying positive.
Yeah, I mean, without that direction, you're not going to get anywhere, and you're going to feel like you're doing nothing, and that's what would end up making you negative in a day, is, you know, feeling like you haven't accomplished anything or anything that you're truly passionate about.
Or I've noticed, when things get in the way of me, like, achieving those daily goals, that's when I get flustered and frustrated.
I was going to say, goals can work negatively towards people, too, if they don't have a good support system around them to be like, hey, you know, it's just one bad day, or it's a bad week, or hey, this month sucked, let's get it next month, and just kind of finding that buddy or partner, whatever it is. I mean, I think that's why some of these internet, workout videos are taken off, because they have that weird person on the screen holding them accountable. And it's just crazy as humans. I mean, I struggle with setting goals right now, and I've tried to put them on paper. Looking out 5 years, but it's just too fluid for me right now. So I'm with everyone out there that doesn't know where they're going. But I think what we're preached to in high school and college is that you need to have it figured out. But in today's society, you don't have to have it figured out. I think we're all just kind of floating along, and it naturally comes and it all works out.
So I think one of the reasons I'm so positive and why I do things okay is because everything comes back to, like, speaking it into existence for me. Like, even just like a mood, right? Like, somebody has a bad mood. Like, if you just continue to have that bad mood and don't say positive things, like, you're going to continue to be negative and not see anything good. Like, it's even tough for me some days, but I'm a very happy person, and I always see good things, and like, it just continues to be good for me. And when there's a streak of bad things, like, I think it comes back to Grant Cardone book I read, talks about, like, victim mentality, and if you know what I mean?
Very familiar.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, almost everything that happens to you is caused by you in some way or another, like the butterfly effect of, like, looking 10 steps down the row. And you need to just stop feeling sorry for yourself. You know, like, things can be stacked against you, but if you're just positive, like, the change that you'll have overnight, no matter money, situation, family, anything, if you're just positive every day you wake up and positive towards something, your life will be so much better. Like, it's just a mindset thing, honestly.
I want to tell the luck story that I told you today.
Tell it.
I don't remember where I saw it or heard it, but there was an experiment done with a group of people who considered themselves lucky and a group of people who considered themselves unlucky, and they told them to read, I think it was like a newspaper, all the way through until the end. And the people that considered themselves unlucky, like, read it through all the way, but there were hidden titles throughout the paper that said, you can stop now, like, the answer to the question is this, like, in big titles throughout the paper. And the group that considered themselves lucky actually caught the titles. And
Wow.
it just shows, like, if you believe that you are positive, that you are lucky, that, you know, if you're manifesting these things, you're looking for it, versus if you think you're unlucky and negative, then that's what you'll become.
No, that's a crazy, and you've hit on that a couple times now, and I won't even say it, but I've thought a lot of things since I've been a young person, and it's almost weird, but I'm a very positive, happy-go-lucky, like, people out there have probably seen me mad, but it's maybe for 10 minutes, and it's pretty brutal, but then I'm like, oh, no, it's not that big of a deal, and I get back in that good mood or whatever, but I've literally envisioned things since I've been a young person, and I've been very specific in those, and they have all come true, and I don't know, it's weird, but I think it's because I've literally talked to them and believed it the whole way through, and I've achieved those, so I don't know how people find that, but yeah, if you write them down, or like you said with that luck thing, it's crazy. It's mindset, our brain. I read about the brain, and it's just crazy what we've got up there, and how you literally shape what it is, and you create the outcome. It's crazy, and a lot of people are victims, and they're just victims to it all, and it's not their fault, and I think that comes from their upbringing, potentially. Mine's actually unique because I believe my parents have the victim mentality, and I think that's actually driven me to be so positive, because I grew up around that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because it's like cloudy out today. You're not thankful to be alive. Like, it's crazy.
It's tough, and it's a tough thing when your parents see anything different than you, especially like a mindset thing like that. It's
Very
just
true.
It's tough to be a different person, but
then again, it's like no one teaches you how to be positive besides your parents. If they're not positive, then you're kind of screwed. Like, I think mental health and being positive should be taught in school.
And I think that's interesting too, because I've been around them, but I've learned to be kind of a chameleon and empathize with people that just, you can tell they're kind of on the negative side, and you can just adapt to those people.
You understand how to talk to different types of people.
You do, and that's what will propel you and excel, and just people will feel comfortable and put trust in you. Because even though I'm a happy guy, I get that side of the coin, and that's probably what makes me kind of a likable person, because
once you understand how to, talk to every type of person, it's different.
Yeah, and I'm an introvert, so that's an interesting thing, and I've found that's helped me throughout life, is I'm really uncomfortable with people I don't know, but I'm a good listener, and I think that's just another thing that's helped me in my career, personally, professionally, is just listening to people. I know a lot of people just feel like they always have to talk or have an idea, but I'm a really good listener, and I'm going to pick up on those little cues, and then it's like I'll loop back, and we'll have really candid conversations. So I think listening is also important, and it just loops back to mental health, because me and Logan, we're so positive, it's hard to see that other side, and it's like people are out there struggling. I've had people commit suicide, and it's like I've tried to reach out and help them, but I don't know how, and I've tried to read about that, but I mean, that definitely hits home with me, because it's hard for me to see the other side.
Yeah, definitely for me, it was something like kind of like a wake-up call, honestly, because I think guys in general are just more tough on the outside, so if you don't really know them or whatever, like if they're struggling, you won't find out at all. So like, I mean, before her with the, being the girlfriend, I never really understood mental health or understood that it was even a problem, because I'm such a positive person. Like, I really am.
But I made it known that it's a problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just good to talk about now and make, like, okay, no matter who you are, it's okay to talk about it. Like, even with her, it's insane how open you are.
I never used to be open. I used to be hold everything in. Everything would come out more as anger than anything else, or Like, just I seemed like a heartless bitch, honestly. But I had a few occurrences happen throughout my life, suicides, that kind of thing, that really did open up my eyes to people not being okay. And I realized that I was not okay and that I was just shoving all these feelings inside. And I learned, like, it's better to just talk about it because you know that there are people out there like you that are struggling and that don't want to talk about it. And I would rather normalize talking about it than watch more people do bad things.
Yeah,
You know?
and I struggle with terrible anxiety myself and high blood pressure. It's probably because I'm always worried about numbers and high stress guy. But
Me too.
I like translate that into happiness, I guess. But I'm very edgy, and I mean, I struggle with anxiety too. So it's interesting. Even some people, you're always busy looking at other people and want their life, and I think that's the root of the problem.
A lot of problems.
Yeah. So anyway, we're kind of getting.
I mean, we can transition to basically just alcohol and like entertainment because that somewhat plays into anxiety and looking at other people's life and trying to fit in. Honestly.
Yeah. So this goes all the way back to the old DARE program in high school. I took that to heart, believe it or not. A lot of people don't, and this goes back to education. You get in, if you think it comes true. It goes back to what we've been talking about. But I saw those pictures of terrible stuff, and I think they're a little extensive. I think whatever, they can be used in good ways. Probably not good, but anyway, they can help with things. But I made it a goal, and I'm pretty sure it was in my DARE paper that we had to stand up and read, and I was like, I'm not going to drink or use drugs until I turn 24 years old. Well, I turned 24 in March, and I've drank. I've never smoked, or I've never used tobacco of any sort ever in my life, and my goal is to die without ever doing that. So I think that's interesting, and I've never been drunk I've never blacked out. I've never puked from being so drunk. I most recent was probably a wedding. But I save it for certain times.
There's places and times to drink. I think that's like a good point of topic, and what we tried to cover as well is like it's insane how much I'm like you with this, and you're the only person that I've ever found that since day one you've been like that. You know,
yeah.
Where, like I never get anything good out of it myself, and it never makes me feel good the day after. I never make good decisions on it. So I really do try to save it for, 2-3 times a year when I'm with all my family or all my friends at, wedding for sure. All your friends are back in town for sure. But it's crazy to me that you have never blacked out and never puked. And I think, like what you said, you can count how many times I'm basically
less than 2 hands.
Yeah,
that I've drank, that
like
I've been tipsy, drunk. Yeah.
So I think it's crazy to me because like that's for a social standpoint, and I think maybe alcohol is good for some people and some people like it. Sure, yes. But I think like from a social and mental health standpoint, I think it honestly is very, very bad. And I think people just don't understand that it's okay to have a different opinion. Because like right now in college, if you don't drink, you're probably looked at as a fun hater. You don't go out and do anything. So like even I have struggled with that of like succumbing to peer pressure and having to, not because I want to, but because I feel like I have to. And I think it's just interesting that you're almost exactly like me. Like I don't vape, I don't chew, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that either because I don't like depending on something. And I don't like spending money on that. And it's just like I don't need that crutch. So it's just interesting to me that you have the same like you're the exact same person as me almost when it comes to that. And like I guess we could just talk about your opinion on that, and then why you think that is your family drinkers or not? Because
what you do for entertainment.
Yep, because we got to show the other side of how to have fun.
Well,
we're finally back after some major technical difficulties with the audio. We almost lost the whole hour and 40 minutes. I think we were at drinking and basically why you have the outlook you do on it, and can you attribute that to family, or where does that stem from?
So it is back to family. I think I was talking about my father having some health issues, and he would never drink because it made him feel like crap. It like multiplied feeling like crap and like a hangover, and I was like, I don't want that. I'm going to sign up for that. So that played into it. Grandfather was an alcoholic. I've witnessed alcohol ruin people's lives, honestly, and that really hit home. Like, if I have an option, I'm not going to do it. Like, it's as simple as that. And I don't know. That's basically it with alcohol, and then just like a pride thing. I love telling people no. Maybe like now I like telling people I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
just a thing, mental.
Yeah, it's like a mental
Does
thing.
your girlfriend drink?
She does not really. No, she went out on her 21st birthday, and she was the typical 21st birthday. But she doesn't like doing it. She's kind of like Logan, and she doesn't like the taste of anything.
I hate the taste, dude. I think you're getting this from a different episode, but I mean, we went to a brewery and I could almost puke anytime I touch it. Like, that's why, like, why? Like, it's fun for some people and some people like the taste, but I hate when people force me to do that because, like, it makes me want to puke anything I put in my mouth other than maybe Captain Coke is the only thing I can tolerate, and I don't like it, but I can tolerate it.
Yep. So anyways, she doesn't drink. I'd like to say I'm not controlling. I don't think I am. I just, like, good vibes rub off on people.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not drinking, she doesn't need to drink, and we go out together. But a unique one on this is, it was a goal to never drink. I haven't been drunk many times, but I do like going to breweries, and I'll have just one drink usually, or a couple. This summer, whenever I worked construction outside, I totally can relate to these people that, like, crave a beer at the end of the day after sweating your balls off all day. Because I had that same thing this summer, and I'm like, I totally get it now. I get it.
Yep.
So an ice cold beer, don't get me wrong. And then socially, as I've, I guess networked with people, just because they think it's the norm, I would rather stand there and drink water. But I think a lot of it, honest to God, whenever people are out, is they just want something in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
me and my mom just had that conversation because I was talking about our last 2 podcasts ago, and she was like, I don't necessarily go out to, like, get drunk. My family, they're big drinkers, but she's like, I'm too old to be, like, going out and getting drunk, but I definitely do it, like, after work. I'll sit down and have a beer or a White Claw with the regulars and talk with them.
Yep.
And it's more of a social thing for her.
It is literally so social. I mean, that's just society, and it loops back to everyone being unhappy because we're all just trying to fit in. And that was kind of where I said I've gotten a pride thing out of it in high school. I was the only one that, well, not the only one, but
basically the only one.
One of the only ones, and then same thing in college, and people knew me because of that, and, like, they got to a point where they wouldn't ask me, and they respected me, and I still have people to this day that are like, still don't drink, huh? I'm like, no, not really.
No.
And
were you the designated driver all the time?
a lot of times I would kind of head out before things got, because I didn't want to be put in a bad situation. Yep. And that's another thing about me is I like to be in control of every outcome, probably a weakness actually. But that's probably where myself and Logan relate.
Honestly, same thing. That might be why I just hate it, because I'm not, and I make the dumbest decisions I've made in my life have been when I'm intoxicated.
Yes.
So it's just not a good path for me to take myself down again. So I think, like, that comes from my mindset of being, like, mentally tough enough to step back, realize that, like, okay, nothing good is coming of it for me, myself. So I'm not going to judge you if you want to drink or if you want to make that your life. But, like, just please don't judge me, because, like, I understand why I'm not drinking. And that's why, like, so just my story a little bit. My parents, like, almost never drank. My mom maybe touches alcohol, like, once a year. For maybe.
Hey, she cracked one at Thanksgiving.
She had one White Claw at Thanksgiving. I was like, who are you? You're getting old. But yeah, basically, like, for me, it's kind of a family thing. Like, I grew up and it wasn't around. Like, at our family Christmas, not everybody was getting hammered. Like, maybe they'd have one or two, that's it. And I feel like that's, like, definitely, like, a family thing. Like, I never was around it. Like, my family hardly would ever drink, like, one Mike's Hard Lemonade.
That's so different, I feel like.
See, and that's why I think, like, people are brought up differently, and that's why they do different things when they're, especially still in high school, because that's what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like, even me, for, like, her family is such big drinkers, it's tough for me, because, like, I truly, to my bone, I hate it.
Yeah.
But, like, you have to just take part in that, and I respect it 100%, and so that's why I do when I'm around them or we're on trips with them. But it is like a tough thing for me, because I'm just so different than that, and, like, I'm never going to judge anybody else for doing it. But, like, I just hate when people, like, talk shit about, like, us deciding not to drink, because, like, you don't know what's better for that person, and you don't know their reasons. But, like,
Exactly.
I am not a good person when I drink, and I cause more damage than any good, so I'm just going to do me and probably not drink, you know?
Yeah, and I'm very open to it too, and I'll have a couple drinks with you. You're going to have 10, I'm going to have 2. You know, it's like, that's perfect. I'm very open. I like to believe I'm very open-minded too, so.
Me too.
that's where it's kind of nice to be able to go out and have a couple drinks, and even though I might not enjoy it, but
there's definitely a time and a place, and like that's why even I mean, I don't not ever drink. I definitely do drink sometimes. It's just like I'm okay with not drinking because there's nothing else to do. I think that's one thing that differs from a lot of people, like where like they'll want to fit in. So like a Thursday comes, they get home from work, they get home from class, it's 6 p.m. Everybody else is going to go out and drink, so that's what they're going to do. And like that's, I think, the destructive drinking, not having one or two in a social situation to make you at ease or to connect with somebody. I think it can be used for good things. I think people are just looking to it as like that's their hobby almost, and because they don't have anywhere to put their energy, and that's just the easiest way out, you know? So I think like there's positives, just like everything, you know, there's positives and there's negatives. I'm not saying like alcohol should never be drank. It's the worst thing ever. Because some people, you know, that's where they get off and that's what they like to do. So by all means, do that. It's just interesting because I feel like our outlook on it needs to be brought to light, because I've never met anybody that has quit drinking or dumbed it down. Definitely, even like that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's different. Like I'm not saying never go to a bar, never do anything. But if you are going to a bar 3 times a week and you dumb it down to twice a month, even, I guarantee your life is going to level up 10
Absolutely.
times. Like that's why
your bank account will. That's for sure.
That's why I think it needs to be brought to light and people don't talk about it, because everybody does it. So like the few people that don't do it, maybe just like, that's why we brought up a thing where like eventually with Ethan, we're going to collab and do like a sober month for like a lot of people, anybody that wants to join, just because like it's good to see the other side. Like I have drank too, so I've given that my chance, but that's just not the good thing for me, you know? So I don't know. It's just a super interesting conversation, and it might be one of like the top 3 questions in my life of like, understanding where people are coming from when they do it. Or my biggest question is not like an individual level, honestly. My biggest question and what troubles me the most is, where did our society make it a staple that 90% of people do it as like their pastime 5 days a week, you know, even 3 days a week? It's like, I get it every once in a while, 100% wedding occasion, whatever. But where did it's such a societal question of where did like that become the staple? Because it is a depressant. So like that's why I feel like it's not good for people to be putting their body 3 times, 4 times a week.
Yeah. No, I question the same thing, and I guess I always play the flip side of these things, but I'm like, no one really instilled not to in me, and I guess but I was the outsider whenever I did that, so I guess I don't know where it stemmed from, but just kind of it goes back to goals. And my issue is a lot of time the people that spend a ton of time at the bars and drinking 5 days a week, some of them tend to have the victim mentality, and it's like, well, you need to, you know, look in the mirror. I look in the mirror, you know, not literally, but just self-reflect and, you know, don't complain about it. But I like I said, I know people on that side, and it's not as simple as them just self-reflecting. Like they need someone to take them by the hand and say, hey, and I think you doing that sober month can take some of those people by the hand, and it almost comes like a competition. And people are like, oh my God, we can get together, hang out, and play board games.
And board games, that's what we do all the time.
Ticket to ride for life.
You know, and then so I guess a lot of people make like drinking games out of that. So I get it.
That's all they got to just turn it all into that.
It's a societal thing, but
it's tough. But like even, I mean, you used to drink a good amount, and like I think from an outside perspective, like I think you've talked on it as well, is like, could you like speak to the fact where like you realize maybe it wasn't the best thing, even for you being such a different person that way?
Well, I know I did it solely to fit in, obviously. So in high school, me and my friends would drink. It started out as just like, ooh, stealing parents' liquor, you know, having fun, like. And I'm all for that still to this day. Like, I'm happy that I had those experiences and went through it, and I am happy that I did it in a time in my life where it didn't matter. Like, if I was doing it now, it would be a lot different.
Yeah.
But my, like, freshman year of college, I feel like it escalated. That was when I had shit going on, too, and I'm losing my train of thought.
I mean, it's just what you're talking about drinking and how like you've progressed to who you are today.
No,
and,
like,
your thought process.
So I started to realize that when I was going out and having these like being put in these social situations, I was feeling more empty inside then like feeling fulfilled by these social situations, and
even though they're supposed to be fulfilling.
Yeah,
yes.
And I just slowly realized that it's not the way to go. I don't know.
No,
it's just crazy to me from an outside standpoint of like knowing you for 2.5 years now ish, like how much you've changed. And I like what you were talking about your girlfriend. I think like you're a product of who you're around, and you see that it can be okay. Like I truly believe that you think it is like a good decision to maybe not drink all the time. Like every once in a while, yeah, go for it. But like it's just interesting to see like that you've like you've changed like from black to white basically on the topic. And it's just like if you could do it from like the level you were at, I just think like if people were to try, they might just cut it back. Like, and I'm not saying cold turkey it, but just like that's what I'm saying. Like, and you need to take like every issue, every situation is different from person to person, because me cutting it back would be insane, you know, like to nothing, where like maybe somebody who's going 3 times a week cuts it back.
It's hard. There's no way, like when I was in the heat of it, drinking 5 times a week, that I could have just cut it cold turkey. There's no way, because you start to build this lifestyle and build these friends, and it's like if you just all of a sudden stop, you'll lose every single friend that you have when your life revolves around it.
Did you guys meet at a bar then?
No, we did not. We'll say that we met in math class.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sat by him in math class, and I will say he has been a big influence on it, definitely not controlling in any way, but he has showed me that you can live life by not drinking alcohol, or at least cutting it down, and you can still have fun. Like, people's alcohol-filled weekends, like, we've replaced those with games, activities,
golf,
trips,
gym,
golf,
anything,
snowboarding, like fun activities that
I just
are
feel like
fulfilling.
That's exactly where I was going to go with that. Like, at least you are working towards something, getting better at something, like putting any bit of mental energy into something more than just hammering as much as you can get down your throat and not remembering it, feeling like shit, going to the 9 to 5 again, Monday through Friday, looking for the weekend.
Yeah, I honestly think that's a good place to wrap it up, though. Just you might be able to find something more fulfilling, because I think there's both sides to that, and I get the other side. But I think there's other options, and I think that'll roll right into entertainment and kind of like what I do for fun, and instead of going out on the weekends.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend and myself, we're outdoorsy people, going on bike rides, walks, swimming on the beach. Or swimming, going to the beach, and just like always outdoors. And it's just so fulfilling. Like, just find your group of people you can go golfing, have a couple drinks. You don't have to get blacked out or whatever. But finding hobbies, I know, has helped me kind of with, what's going, I guess, just helped me in general, and like setting goals so I can go on that trip, which I haven't really been able to go on any trips. But so I guess entertainment, I don't know if you have any questions on, entertainment or any input.
I mean, basically, it's just like showing people that you can be okay, you can have friends if you don't drink, because I think a lot of people like think that they'll just like have nobody, but there's people out there like you that want to do things, and like I think people would find a hobby that they truly like and that would make them happier. Like if they had to look for a place to put their energy, and they're like, shit, I like hiking, or shit, I like bike riding. You know what I mean? Like, just like hobbies in general that can be like so good for you to take your energy and put it somewhere. Like Mike Malak like talks about like biking nonstop, like just a long backstory, and it's a guy from like Impulsive and Logan Paul, but he's like a drug addict, and alcoholic and stuff, and he ended up going like sober and then finding bike riding, but he just like bikes 30 miles a day after his job, before his job, in between. Like it's just like finding another place, because like I get it, like it's tough when you have no clue what to do and you don't just want to sit at home all day, especially when all your friends are out.
It's definitely hard to find other people like that. Like, I still have yet to this day to find people that I can relate to, but you find it in certain areas. So you find your interests and your hobbies, so the gym. You find people, okay, like, let's go work out together, let's go for a hike, let's go for a walk. Like, you find certain people in the areas of your life where they relate. Yeah,
I've always lived off of, I guess, like natural highs. I'm
Me
sure
too.
you guys have experienced
Me
it.
too.
And I think that started at the gym, but I know, like, hunting a couple of days ago, I had an opportunity to shoot a deer. I don't really like killing animals. I just like getting out there to get some alone time. And these 4 deer walked past, and like the sun was coming up, and you could literally see the breath coming out of their mouth in the early morning. I'm like, this is just awesome, and it like gave me like a natural high. And it's just, I don't know, people need to find that, and it will make you feel way better than ever going out.
And I would say, like, climbing big mountains would be definitely my natural high. And I would suggest, like, going, traveling, seeing new places for anybody that has not done it. Like, do it. Save up your money and do it.
Yeah, experiencing new things and finding that hobby. I know, like, you talked about ice fishing in one of your previous episodes.
Yeah, and I'm not an ice fisher, but if that's what you like to do, do it. Like,
Yeah.
You got to find something that you like to do and take your mind off of all the other, societal, norms and shit. Go find something that you like to do, no matter what it is, and do it, and you'll be a lot more happy. We wrap it up, or we talk about anything else that we're missing?
I think I'm good.
Good?
I am good.
Okay, well, that's it. Thank you for watching episode 3.
Thank
We're
you.
going to put
you.
a shit ton of links in the description, investing, budgeting, maybe even some trip type of stuff. But basically, just check that out and reach out in any way possible if you have any questions. But thank you for listening. Have a good one.